Yeah, Alex King coming in saying Trey's injury will really test McDermott, his ability to coach players like Elam and adjust the defensive scheme accordingly. So that's the next question here is where do the Buffalo Bills stand at cornerback? Obviously, they have Christian Benford, who's day to day with a shoulder injury. They have Dane Jackson. They have Kaiir Elam. So they have the three guys who started in place of Trey White while he was out rehabbing his ACL injury last year. On the practice squad, they have Jamarcus Ingram, but he did go down in practice last week with an ankle injury, so that's something we need an update on. And they have Kyron Brown. Remember, they lost Alex Austin, our 7th-round pick, a boundary cornerback, to Houston on cutdown day. He was waived and he was claimed by the Houston Texans. So what are your thoughts on what remains for the Buffalo Bills at the boundary cornerback position? I see a lot of people advocating for trading for a corner. I've seen from the outlandish to trading for Patrick Surtain to the just plain stupid of trading for Patrick Peterson. I've seen the full spectrum of idiocracy on social media, and no one's trading an all pro. And I don't want a washed up corner. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with the three guys that we got. People have been craving for Kaiir Elam to get a chance. This could be it for him.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'm with you on that. I think, look, unfortunate Alex Austin didn't, want this to end up being a move that we look back on and regret anyway. But Jamarcus Ingram, like, depending on the severity of that injury, you figure at some point maybe he would get the call up. The Bills have had guys like Cam Dantzler and other vets like that sort of on the practice squad or on the roster, I should say, before cut down day. So there are some veterans out there that you can bring in that are not necessarily going to be guys that supplant Trey White or kind of move immediately into the starting lineup, but that kind of pushes everyone else up one notch and just kind of buffers you at the back end. That's kind of the approach I see the Bills taking, right? Like I would imagine like this becomes a Kaiir Elam, Dane Jackson, Christian Benford trio with a veteran or some practice squad guy getting called up like a Jamarcus Ingram if he's back to health as the fourth guy. Maybe Cam Lewis mixes in a bit more at the corner position as well. But I just don't see this as an area where the Bills all of a sudden go out and like try to make a splashy trade or even a trade for a guy that in Patrick Peterson, who you could go out and probably just bring in a veteran free agent that wouldn't be as marginally like that much, more deficient than a guy like Patrick Peterson. So I'm kind of all for keeping the three we've got and just bringing in a guy sort of at the bottom there to kind of fill it in.
Yeah, I mean, the likely move, you could have Kaiir Elam to the 50, or not Kaiir Elam, excuse me, Jamarcus Ingram to the 53, or you could just keep Jamarcus Ingram on the practice squad and you could elevate them as needed because Elam's been inactive every week. So now you just activate Kaiir Elam and then you have Ingram on the practice squad. You have Kyron Brown on the practice squad. I would probably like to see a veteran added to the practice squad, kind of like we did last year with Xavier Rhodes. There are players out there like Xavier Rhodes, who is available if he still has anything left in the tank. After he left us last year, he went to Dallas, got a few reps in with the Dallas Cowboys. So I know he's an older player, but it's a break class in case of emergency type of deal to have him on the practice squad. Casey Hayward, who the Buffalo Bills chased a couple of seasons ago, has made it known that he is available and he is healthy and recuperated from his injury last year when he was with the Atlanta Falcons. Again, 34 years old, but he is a guy that could maybe be on the practice squad, break glass in case of emergency type of situation. And there's another street free agent that is really interesting to me, and that is former 2nd-round pick. Many people will call him a bust from the Cleveland Browns, and that is Greedy Williams. But here's the thing. He was a DB, a cornerback at LSU. When Greedy Williams was a cornerback at LSU, who was his defensive coordinator before he became Baylor head coach? Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda and Sean McDermott are noted to be super tight. It was Dave Aranda's stamp of approval that in 2017 convinced Sean McDermott to draft Trey White. Dave Aranda was in Baylor and I think played a large role in the Buffalo Bills drafting Terrell Bernard. So Dave Aranda is somebody who has the ear of Sean McDermott. Greedy Williams is sitting out there on the street, played for Dave Aranda at LSU. That might be a possibility for the Buffalo Bills, but that could also go the other way. Dave Aranda could be like, yo, Like that dude wasn't it at LSU. Like I knew the Browns made a mistake drafting that kid. Like don't make that mistake, Sean McDermott. So it's just a name to keep an eye out for because of that connection. If you want to poach someone off a practice squad, which means adding them to the 53-man roster, a guy we talked about a couple of years ago, Sidney Jones, he's on the Bengals practice squad, former Seattle Seahawk. Cam Dantzler, who was in training camp with the Buffalo Bills before an injury, is on the Saints practice squad. And XFL stud last year, Luke Barku, is on the Steelers practice squad. So those are some names as well. And I even saw someone put out this trade scenario, and this trade scenario does make sense to me. A 6th-round pick to Houston because we have 10 draft picks to maybe try to get Alex Austin back. So if you're the Buffalo Bills and you were big believers in Alex Austin and you want that safety net 4th boundary corner behind Benford, Elam, and Dane Jackson, maybe call up
And a
Houston
guy
and
who was
see
in
if you
your camp
can
all summer
was
too,
in your
so
camp. Maybe
yeah,
see. But then the reports are that Alex Austin was outplayed all summer by Jamarcus Ingram. So
yeah.
who knows if the Buffalo Bills would even want to pursue that. One final thing before we get to the Miami game. Do you think that maybe there's a chance that Kaiir Elam starts? Because Kaiir Elam has been an active week every week. And that makes sense to me because he's the younger player, right? Dane Jackson has got more starting experience. Dane Jackson's maybe the more veteran, heady, savvy player. I think maybe he does have a little bit more faith of a guy like Sean McDermott. But if you look at it, the job of Dane Jackson the first 3 weeks of the season is to come off the bench cold, like he did when Christian Benford got hurt. You probably don't trust Kaiir Elam to come off the bench cold. But now that we're starting fresh, there's no Trey White. This person is getting all the reps in practice. This person is starting the game, going from start to finish, not coming off the bench cold. Could this be a realistic opportunity for Kaiir Elam not to be the 3rd corner, but to maybe start over Dane Jackson?
Uh, that's an interesting thought. I don't think it's gonna happen. I could be wrong.
Mhm.
I could be wrong. But maybe that's just that it doesn't happen right away, right? Maybe in
Mhm.
a couple weeks' time that's the case, and Dane kind of goes back to playing that role of coming off the bench cold. But I think, this first game, this London game, there's a lot of moving parts, right, with that.
Mhm.
And I think like going up against the likes of Kirk and Ridley and Zay Jones and like these guys that Jack, I just feel like it's a tough ask for Kaiir to come in, a guy who's been inactive every week,
Mhm.
and he all of a sudden starts. So I'm not saying he won't like eventually, but I my betting money would be that he wouldn't, at least for this week.